Hey, and welcome to our live stream, which we haven't done in a while now. So, welcome to Q&A with me today, for chit chat with me today, and I'm just so excited to connect. So, if you're jumping on here, tell me where in the world you are. Tell me what in the world you are eating or drinking. I am on a day 9 of my juice cleanse day of the 369. So I've been juicing a lot already this morning. So I just wanted to share that. It's part of sort of my ongoing self care that I do that, which I love doing. Party in the Pantry. I love that name. You're from Ontario, Canada. Welcome to our right live stream this morning. Serena says, "Good morning, Muneeza. I am drinking my lemon water and I'm in Maryland. Welcome, welcome." Bernita from Orlando. Hi there. And Heal with Anya. Good morning, Anya. I haven't seen you in a while as well. I hope you're doing well. So, this morning we are chatting about women's cycles, women's reproductive cycles. Women have been through years of attack on our reproductive system. And by that, I mean that there's so much um, negativity that is surrounding women's cycles, whether it's women becoming, girls becoming pubescent for the first time, and they start to have their cycles at young teenage years, or it's women having their monthly cycle. How many of you here who are listening and watching have a good experience with your cycle? So drop me a number 1 if you have a good experience with your cycle in the comments. Drop me a number 2 if you struggle with your cycle in any way, right? It doesn't feel good when it shows up, you have PMS, or you have period cramps, or your other symptoms kick up when you have your cycle. So drop me a number 2 in the comments if you struggle with your cycle in any way. And so I had a lecturer at school who talked about Chinese medicine principles, and so we had a conversation with him, and one of the things that he said was that in Chinese medicine, the woman's cycle is supposed to feel like heavenly rain. And I laughed because I'm like, I don't know a single woman who could say that. Are any of you able to say that your cycle feels like heavenly rain? But actually, in my heart, I believe that that's how our cycle should be. Our cycles should be like heavenly rain. Our cycles should be something that we look forward to. Our cycles should be a time when we can step away from the busyness of life and go inwards. It's a cycle for a reason. It ebbs and it flows. And our energy and our feelings and our emotions ebb and flow along with it, right? There are While men can be really consistent day in and day out, day in and day out in their lives, with their emotions, with how they feel, with their approach to life, women's approach to life changes based on where she is in her cycle. When she's actually bleeding, and it's the first couple of days of that, or the lead up to the bleeding, women go more inward. They don't like to deal with the world. They can have a drop. They're already dropping their immune system. They are more recessive in general, right? So some of you don't have a period anymore, but how about when you did have a period? What was it like? So we have only one person said that their cycle has no issues, and other people who are dropping twos in the chat box are saying that they do have a cycle. Hi, Vicky Russell. Nice to see you here as well. So this piece, I want us to, if you're listening to this, whether you're listening to me live right now or you're listening to me from when this isn't live and you're watching the recording or the replay, I want you to do this exercise. Notice for a month, track how you feel on every day. When a woman's cycle typically finishes, she will become more focused and more energetic, more able to do things in the world, go out and finish her projects, go out and attack her to do lists, um, show up at work, finish work projects, be inspired, get creative. But that inward time when she's on her cycle is a time where she can let go, like go inwards, assess what's working, what's not working in her life, and come out of that and then tackle what's there for the month. When you have chronic illness and you add a layer of complexity on top of um, having to deal with the normal cycle that a woman goes through, if it's a woman with a healthy cycle, a healthy woman with a healthy cycle, then you have chronic illness symptoms on top of that. That makes everything a lot harder. So, women who have chronic illness symptoms or neurological symptoms or any other kinds of symptoms, they typically really struggle with their cycle. You know, cycles are hard. Cycles are difficult. Cycles are difficult to figure out. They're difficult to deal with. And so women don't actually have space in their lives to talk about their cycles. I mean, how often do we spend time just talking about how our cycle is doing? What does it feel like? Is it a struggle? Did a certain cycle feel better? It's stuff that we don't talk about even with our partners sometimes. We don't talk about with even our girlfriends, right? Sometimes we do, but as we become adult women, the discussion about the cycle tends to just fall away. It just becomes a part of our life. It's what we do, who we are, and we don't actually pay attention to what's important about our cycle. And I believe that it's always important to be able to have a conversation about your cycle with someone, with a girlfriend. So if you haven't done that in a while, talk about it with someone. Talk about it with your girlfriend. If you don't have a cycle anymore, talk about what that feels like. Have you ever had a conversation with another person about the loss of your cycle once it's done? It's a very pivotal moment for a woman. So if you have questions about cycles, women's menstrual cycles, the different stages of the cycle, whether it's the bleeding stage or the fertile stage or what have you, please drop me a question in the chat box. Um, so Vicky says, my nerve symptoms are worsening and I'm glad I don't have my cycle anymore. Well, Vicky, I am super sorry to hear that your symptoms are worsening. I'm really sorry to hear that. And it may be actually helpful to you that you don't have your cycle right now. Our next comment is from Maria. She says, I have a herpes outbreak every second time. So when you have your cycle, you have an outbreak. So, Maria, one of the things that we're taught by medical medium Anthony William, he says that the cycle, when a woman has her cycle or her bleeding as part of her cycle, during the bleeding time and right before it, our um, our immune system drops about 80%. Our immune system drops about 80%. So when the immune system drops about 80%, then a good idea is to boost that immune system. Add in more zinc, add in more vitamin C, add in more supports like shaga, which is helpful to the immune system. Add in more supports like lemon balm and golden seal, which can also boost the immune system. So another question in the chat box is from Carolina. Hi, Carolina. How do you bring back your cycle? It is really helpful to dive deeper in and assess when the cycle disappeared. And Erica has also mentioned, I think I lost it due to a viral load. Yes. So it's not normal to be in menopause since the age of 40. No. Women typically lose their cycles post 50, 53, 54, 55 years old. And so if you're losing your cycle at 40, that's not true menopause. And cycles don't just disappear as you get older at any age. I mean, there's women who've come to me who've been told that they lost their cycles in their 20s and 30s, and the doctor told them that they were in menopause. And I'm like, no, not technically. Menopause is the loss of fertility. Menopause is a loss of fertility. Carolina, am I doing one-on-one consultations? Yes. If you reach out to the office, that's support at muneezaahmed.com. You'll be able to, my assistant will help you book an appointment. So the viral loads often can cause several issues with the cycle. If you have a very high viral load, you can cause a complete, loss of the cycle can happen. If you have sometimes a high viral load of another variety of Epstein-Barr, you can be bleeding 24/7. Um, Prem says, you're a truly amazing healer and guide. Thanks, Prem, for being here. It's just a pleasure to know you and serve you. So thank you for being here. Um, and I would say that it's important to understand what is at the root of the loss of your cycle. Now, if a woman suddenly starts to eat very few calories, then I would say that that can contribute to the loss of a cycle. Like not eating much, like, there's a diet out there called the calorie restriction diet. And they find that when women do that diet, loss of cycle happens pretty quickly. And it's not eating certain foods, it's just any foods, but the calories are very, very restricted. So, um, so it's a really important part of life and understanding um, what happens to our cycles, because they are at the root of, they are a part of the creation of life. And so for women, even though we struggle with our cycles, it's still such a sacred thing that we experience and that we go through. So it's really helpful to get to the root and understand why and what's going on. So Vicky says, can we ask you questions about things other than cycles today? Sure, just let me get through some of the cycle questions and the cycle topics, and then perhaps a little bit later we can do that. So um, when So Katie says, my cycle is better than it has ever been. Still very heavy in the first few days. Cramping is 100% better. That's awesome to hear, Katie. I have pain in my left and right ovary before and sometimes during. I do have to take it easy during for my neuro stuff can get worse. Love you, Muneeza. Nice to see you here, Katie. It's been a while since we connected. And so a heavier cycle indicates that there's more of a poison or toxin load that is actually coming out. And if you're clotting, that tells you that your cycle is, you've got a lot of thick blood, maybe some dirty blood syndrome going on, and another thing you want to pay attention to. So if you don't know yet, we've launched our revival program up in this left corner of the screen. You'll see the QR link to it. And it's our brand new program to do with women's health. And it's a program that covers everything from puberty to menopause and everything in between, including being a program to help prepare for birth. And it's a program that once you have it is something you will use for life, because we cover all aspects of the cycle, and we want women to be able to go back to it over and over again, because throughout life your cycle changes, you need different things, and it is a program that we have helped cover all aspects of the female health cycle, so to speak. So Loni says, do you know when the spiritual book comes out? I don't. Same as everybody else. I do not know. I do not know that. When I'm sure he'll announce it when it's time. Carolina says, how do you know that you eat enough and do we actually need some fat for healthy hormones? So, Carolina, the fat that we really need is microfats. Because when our body digests fats, and if you look at the fats that are in cells, they're microfats. They are fatty acids. There's a broken down version of lipids. And those types of fats are found in green leafy greens. Those types of fats are found in the omega EPA DHA supplement by Vimergy. And those types of heavier fats or bigger versions of them or lipids are found in foods that contain overt fat, like avocados, like um, like nuts and seeds, what have you. We do need microfats in our diet. What we do not need is high levels of overt fats, because high levels of overt fats don't convert always to the right levels of the microfats that we need. So it's important to understand this balance. We all do need fats. How much we need depends on the state of each person's liver. So some people can handle more fat and some cannot. And that's obvious just in the way people report back on eating different foods and noticing how they feel after they eat those foods. There are some of my clients who will say, you know what, I wanted to add the fat back in and I did, and I just don't feel good. So I'm not going to include it. And there's some people who add fat back in and they're like, oh my gosh, I actually feel a little bit better. So you have to know your own body. And by adding fat back in, I mean adding overt fat back in. And often they're trying an avocado or a few nuts and seeds and checking it out and seeing how they feel. Because the medical medium cleanses are, for a large part, overt fat free, you know, the 369 cleanse, the mono cleanse, and the 28-day cleanse, the heavy metal detox cleanse, those types of cleanses all focus on being lower in overt fat and radical fat so that it allows the maximum opportunity for your liver to clean up. Meanwhile, you are still on those cleanses getting microfats because they are available in all fruits and vegetables. They're available in higher amounts in leafy greens, but they're available in all fruits and vegetables. So a banana has microfats. A mango has microfats. The mamey has a microfat. All fruits and vegetables do. Even cucumbers do. Tomatoes do. So I think we don't think that those foods contain fats at all, but they do. Because if I'm sure you've studied biology in school. I remember when I studied biology and the study of cells, and I studied pretty advanced biology as well. The study of cells shows you that there are lipids in every single cell, but there are micro fatty acids in every single cell. So I think that that's an important context to have when having the conversation about fat. We know that fats like chia seeds, hemp seeds, walnuts are really helpful for cognitive issues, and they're recommended in life-changing foods for, there's and on the medical meeting website and in his blog are recommended for cognitive brain support type of issues. The trick is to include them without overdoing overt fat. And I think that's where most people struggle, is to keep that amount of over fat that they eat within a small range, especially if you're healing And if you don't have any symptoms and you don't worry about healing and you're not concerned about any of these, anything with your health, then you can have as much as you like. But if you are concerned about your health and if you are struggling with symptoms, then it's important to pay attention to this, because you don't want this to be in the way of you being able to take those next steps towards your own healing. And you're so intuitive, Carolina, that you could also assess how it makes you feel. So if you're concerned, I know this is a concern that you've had because you've asked this question multiple times. Intuitively, tune in and ask how much you need, if any, right? That's an important consideration. And there are lots and lots and lots of women who do the medical medium cleanses and no one's lost their period as a result of doing them. And if someone, I mean, it's not a common experience, right? So if someone's losing their period and simultaneously doing a cleanse, they could either not be eating enough or there's a viral infection that is causing that to happen, or a combination of both. So, how do you know that you eat enough? You know that you eat enough when you're not starving yourself, when hunger can be felt and you're satiating that hunger. If you don't have hunger signals, then making sure that you're eating every 90 minutes throughout the day. So, I believe that, like the clients that I've worked with, many of them, when they first start to clean up their diets, they don't eat enough and they're struggling because they're hungry. And then another sign is like at the end of the day, if you don't have enough calories, you're going to then eat more or have cravings for denser foods or for other types of foods that typically you wouldn't want. So there are lots of signs in your day-to-day life that can tell you that maybe you're not eating enough. Yeah, so I hope that that answers your question. Um, Loni says, I saw that Emma mentioned California poppy for pain. It definitely helps. I also recommend it for my clients when they're in pain. My daughters have taken it for their cycles as well, so it's very helpful. Katie says, my cycle at 50 is now starting to become irregular. Yes, so you could be entering perimenopause. Stephanie says, my cycle was getting better and better. And then during travel, I had my period with heavy bleeding and clotting, and I'm slowly getting my cycle back to normal through cleansing. That's beautiful to hear. And the fact that even if you have a setback, you can continue to heal, that's great. Vicky says, my daughter had a cough and then got an allergy attack, then got her cycle, and it turned into pneumonia, and the cycle definitely lowered her immune system. I really believe it's important to take more support for yourself during your cycle, immune support in particular. So, zinc and vitamin C, elderberry, chaga, golden seal, propolis are all immune boosters. So, taking more of those as you approach your cycle, if you experience this loss of immune system, and then, I mean, well, everyone experiences that loss, but if you have underlying issues that pop up at the time of your cycle, then it's really important to take care. Kay says, when I drink celery juice, my mouth gets dry and white tongue. That can happen because it's actually pulling out those acids that were collecting at night from your gut. And that's a reaction that happens when it pulls out those acids. Regine. Hi, Regine from France. I had so many hemorrhagic bleeding periods for so many years. Menopause saved me from even more severe neuro symptoms. So I'm so glad menopause was a positive experience for you, Regine. Um, Katie says, I feel horrible without fat. Yeah. So some people struggle with no fat. And if you are one of those people who cannot let go of fat, there could be an underlying insulin resistance issue that you're struggling with, because often those are the people who really struggle to let go of fat, because fat helps them to kind of stabilize their blood sugar. But it's not the right way to stabilize it. It's like using a Band-Aid or a steroid, right? And If you know this about yourself, that you are really struggling without fat, I'm not telling you to drop it. Continue eating it because I don't want you to feel horrible, but I do want you to explore why that's happening to you, because you should be able to feel great without a lot of fat. And if you struggle without it, there's an underlying issue that needs to be explored. And often it's to do with your blood sugar. And if you're not sure how to explore it on your own, I would start by reading the diabetes chapter of the revised and expanded medical medium book. I would then recommend that you read the diabetes chapter of the liver rescue book. Both cover the topic in slightly different ways, and it's complex. So I have personally have read those chapters, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 times, because I feel like this stuff was not ingrained into us when we were kids. And so I need to keep revisiting it to make sure that I am clear about what is being taught in those chapters. So, Katie, I would look at that as a symptom. If you are struggling without fat, that's a symptom. I would say, let's take a look at why that's happening. Joanne says, can you please share suggestions and tips about scars and lesions? Are they external or internal? Either way, sweet potatoes are one of your best friends for that. Aloe is another good friend. Nettle leaf is a great friend. MSM are really helpful for that. But lesions often happen, you mean inside, right? So on nerves and things like that. So to get rid of lesions are often caused by viral loads in the body. And Epstein-Barr could be shingles too. So Carolina says that's very helpful what you're explaining. I'm glad it is. And it's hard to find the balance. It can be. It takes a minute to figure it out. And Miriam says, so true, I didn't eat enough and I ran my adrenals. Yeah. Um, okay. So Katie says, yes, I have insulin resistance and A1C is high. That's definitely something to look at, right, Katie? If you or want to, if that's a health concern you wish to address, you can heal that and you can get rid of those issues. And when you do, you'll have more freedom with your food. Um, okay, so lots more questions coming in. Erica says, I'm completely fine without fat. Regine says, I love your nail polish. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's one of my favorite colors, and I haven't worn nail polish in about 4 years, so it was a treat to myself. Um, Katie says, what do you recommend for more ovary support? I do the basic sups and red raspberry tea. I would bring in nettle tea as well. Raspberry tea, nettle tincture, and raspberry leaf tea are helpful. Um, so Anya says this might not be topic related, but can you explain whether giving kids melatonin is safe? Yeah, it's safe. In fact, Matt Anthony has talked about this on his lives, and he said that melatonin is non addictive and it is completely safe for humans. So, and children too. So, use your mama intuition and work out what you'd like to, like, whether you want to give it to your kids. I would keep it in a very, very, very small amount, but you can definitely give it to children. Yeah, there are many melatonin supplements for children. Um, so Anitska Bober says, I lost my period for 3 months after experiencing vertigo. I'm 46. Ooh, I'm sorry to hear that. But yes, so if you experience vertigo, that can be a huge rise in the viral levels in your body, viral loads in your body. So if you lost it for 3 months and then you got it back, could be because you healed. I'm not sure what you did. Maybe you healed, or maybe the viral loads came down. Um, so Joanne is saying the lesions are on the inside. So if the lesions are on the inside, 100% viral loads, right? It's EBV often that does that. So making sure that you have the core seven. So it's B12, zinc, micro C, lysine, cat's claw, lemon balm, licorice root to have as a baseline. And then, of course, there's more things that you can do, but it really depends on, is it a lesion in the liver? Is it a lesion in the brain? Is it a lesion on the spinal cord? Where is the lesion? Because then you would support that part of your body to get more nutrients and more specific support, because liver support looks different than neurological support, right? So if you can be more specific, then I can talk about that. Um, Ruth, hi Ruth. What are the best supplements that I should concentrate on to heal Meniere's? So, if you're just joining, our topic today is women's cycles, but of course, I love the fact that you guys ask all kinds of questions in here. And I wanted to share that we have our new revival program right here for all women who this program is for life. It's for all parts of a woman's cycle. It's for when you have a child, or for your own family, how to know how to deal with puberty and beyond, how to deal with menopause, your fertility in general, birth, and it's a birth preparation program, as well as talking about all things to do with women's health. Um, So coming into, and if you have questions about the program, please ask me, because this is a journey that we have taken with our group of women who signed up for our Harness Your Feminine Power Challenge back about a month ago. And then we did the Bloom Summit, which just ended this week. And we had some amazing interviews. And if you sign up for Revival, you get both of those programs for free. So if you have questions, ask me. So Ruth's question is, what are the best supplements to help Meniere's? So again, the core seven that I just spoke about. So the core seven being B12, zinc, micro C, lysine, cat's claw, lemon balm, licorice root. And then curcumin is really important for Meniere's. Eyebright is important. Lomatium, mullein, monolaurin. These are all really helpful and important. So I would, and that's sort of a baseline there, but then 5-MTHF, which is a liver support, EPA DHA, which is nerve and liver support. So you can build up a lot of those, but I would start with the core seven and then go from there. Um, it does work, because I've had many clients release their, let go of those symptoms, including myself. I had very bad vertigo. Okay, so another question is from Carolina about age spots and skin after 40. So many people struggle with that, even on information. So you have to understand, right? As we age, there's more poisons that collect inside of our bodies and organs as we age. So as we age, um, we're heading into like collecting more in the liver, more in the spleen, more in the brain, more even around the heart, more in the tissues surrounding our bodies. So age spots are actually more accurately termed liver spots, right? Liver spots, because they come from poisons that are in the liver that then make it through the lymphatic system and pop out from the lymphatic system onto the skin. And the older you are, and the more poisons that you have collected, the more likely that is to happen. And that's why women struggle with skin issues over 40 years old, because by the time you're 40 years old, your liver's been through a lot already. It's been exposed to a ton of poisons already. So after the age of 40, when skin issues start to show up, is because your liver's starting to max out in certain ways. And that's when people start to pay attention to their skin more, or they go buy products to help their skin, or Well, this product says it'll remove age spots, but you can try anything you want unless you're changing the color of the skin on the outside. um, Age spots don't go away unless you actually go in and heal the liver. And you can get age spots or liver spots at any age. They're sometimes called sunspots. I have 20-year-olds with sunspots on their faces. I have 30-year-olds with sunspots. So it's not always just an age thing, but it's a how poisoned is my liver thing. Um, Jane Nicole says, let's pop your question now. I've been following protocols for a year and a half, and in that time, I have gained nearly 20 pounds. Is there a cause for weight gain? Yes, there's a cause for everything. So is um, weight gain is an issue again of the liver and what goes on with the liver. Like what happens with the liver when we are aging and healing is that often people will start medical meeting protocols and then the weight gain happens. And they say, well, it's because of the diet. But if you understand how weight gain really works, it's when there's areas of the liver that are supposed to store glucose in the form of glycogen, which is like a thick, pasty form of glucose. And when you eat a high fat diet your whole life, those spaces inside your liver designed to store glucose are actually storing fat. That's a protection mechanism because if the liver released all that fat into your bloodstream, then it'd have to pump out more adrenaline to thin the blood because fat makes your blood thick. It's adrenaline is needed to bring to make sure that glucose can get into your cells because fat prevents that. Make sure that oxygen can get into the cells because fat prevents that. When you have high fat in the blood, doctors have found when there's high levels of fat in the blood, oxygen levels can actually go down because the blood has less ability to carry that. So, from your body's perspective, that becomes an emergency. And when that becomes an emergency, the liver will do its best to hold that fat inside of itself so it doesn't hurt the rest of the body. As the liver does that, it takes a hit, right? It's the bodyguard. It takes the hit. Something has to take the hit when you do that. So that's years of fatty liver developing, which when it reaches the tipping point, you can start to gain weight because there's no more room in the liver to hold that fat. So it's going to get those poisons that are showing up, the fat cells are swelling that already exist in your body and or fat cells that your liver doesn't know what to do with gather around the belly and around the liver. So weight gain is not happening because of what you did today or what you did yesterday or what you did last week. The weight gain is happening for what you did in the last 20 years and the last 30 years or what you did since birth, right? How you ate since birth. This is just something that we have to grapple with because it's an issue. It's a major issue. And I'd like for everybody to sort of understand that weight gain doesn't happen, like I said, from what you just did. It's hard for humans to correlate correctly because we often correlate what we're going through to what we did today, what we ate yesterday, when we changed our diet the week before or the month before or 6 months before. Even if what you did 6 months before can start to have an impact down the road, but weight gain isn't one of those things. The weight gain is happening because the liver's already sluggish for so long. Does that make sense? I hope it helps. Can you still eat meat and heal blood sugar? Yes, you can. You just have to manage that. Like, for example, don't mix starches or any kind of carbohydrate when you eat meat. Have your meat with a big green salad, and that's it. That will help you to balance that blood sugar better. It helps your body to let go of um, not create more insulin resistance. Because every time you pair a fat with a starch, um, you can create insulin resistance. Now, I have said to people that they can have, for example, potatoes with avocado, and that is a great way to step down from eating meat in some cases, but it's also great for um, healing the gut. It's great as a combination to take before you take drugs because it helps to protect the gut. It's a great combination if you're really struggling and you need some extra nourishment. It can be used for that too. Um, so not every single fat and starch combination is bad. That particular one that I just mentioned, it can be healing in some cases, but it can be really helpful for someone to step down from eating meat, and letting go of some of that if you're struggling with it. So if you want to continue to eat meat, make sure you eat it at the end of the day. Make sure you're not doing it every single day. Maybe you do it 3 times a week, 2 times a week, so that you're lowering the amount of overall fat that's in your diet. But you don't have to give it up completely to heal. It also depends on how bad your insulin resistance and A1C is. Are you pre-diabetic? Are you full-on diabetic? If you're full-on diabetic, then letting go of meat can be fast tracking you to healing diabetes more quickly. But I don't ever recommend going off meat cold turkey because your sugar levels will just go nuts. So stepping down with some healing fats is always a good idea before you let go of it completely. It's that gentler approach is very, very necessary. Um, So our next question is from, I hope that helped. Whose question was that? Jane. I hope that helped. It can be such a tough conversation when it comes to weight. Our next question is recommendations for sciatica. I'm already taking 9 lysine with micro C per day. I'm dealing with frozen shoulder now. Started cat's claw. Well, for sciatica, medical meeting recommends golden seal, propolis, mullein, ALA, magnesium glycinate, curcumin. Those would be the supplements that I would put more focus on because they can really make a huge difference. Okay, our next question is from Sarah. She says, day one of cycle, fever, body aches, post nasal drip. So, post nasal drip, Sarah, is a rise in strep levels, streptococcus. So, higher levels of vitamin C can help, curcumin can help, golden seal can help, zinc shock therapy can help. So, I would do those. And if you're having a fever and body aches, that's also indicative of some EBV that's kicking up for you, too. What do you like best for blood sugar supplementation? What do you mean blood sugar supplementation? Supplements to heal blood sugar issues or glucose that would go into your body for blood sugar support? Like, I'm not clear on what you mean, Katie. Um, Alicia, hi Alicia. She says, I'm going on 5 months of mono cleansing. All power to you. That's amazing. What do you say? When do you suggest start bringing the HMDS? Actually, Anthony has said on one of his lives that if you've done it for more than a month, you can bring in the HMDS in the morning. Yeah, totally. Okay. Um, Stephanie says, how did you prepare your daughters for their first cycle? Yeah, good question. So we talked about it. We talked about how the cycle can show up, what you can feel when the cycle shows up, what it's doing, and why it happens. I taught them the fertility chart that I'm teaching in Revival, and I taught them how ovulation works and what the period means and why it happens and uh, what its purpose is, um, and when it happens for the first time, honoring them, supporting them, telling them to take it easy, giving them lots of support with teas and supplements if they need it. They haven't needed too many of those, so I'm really grateful for that. Um, and yeah, just being aware and having the whole family support them, including their dad, which I think is a very important part for girls to be not to hide from their dad that they're having a period, but that dad is involved in that process. full on, hands on, you know, in terms of if they need a hot water bottle or they need some heating pads or they need, just could you grab me something because I just want to rest. We honor the need for them to rest when they have their cycles, even if they don't have period pain or what have you. It is a time that women do go inward. And I want my children to honor that. So, yeah, yeah. So, Vicky says, my neurosymptoms are worsening. Um, Nothing seems to move the needle, not even vitamin C IV. Stomach's getting more sensitive. Um, is stomach acid related to neurosymptoms? Not directly. Not directly. Um, yes, vitamin C can affect stomach acid. Vitamin C is acidic when it goes into the body. So, nerve gut acid stabilizer shots can help, but I don't know if you've already tried that. Um, Nerve trapped in the hip and groin. Yes, that would be shingles. Even heel pain could be shingles. Wouldn't know for sure, Miriam, unless I did a consult. But yeah, that's what it sounds like. Um, Katie says I gained 20 pounds as well. It's a common experience. Um, how can I stop my uterus going out? Since 4 years, it's been very bad. About 4 or 5 centimeters out of my vagina. That's a prolapse. That's a prolapse. So healing the tissues, cleansing is very important in this case. Very important. So you got to heal those tissues. You've got to focus on connective tissues, um, and how to support the connective tissues and support. So cleansing means maybe doing some of the 369 medical medium cleanses, that will help to cleanse poisons out of the body that are causing the tissues to become weak. That's why they're not holding um, your uterus in. Doing pelvic floor strengthening exercises, right? Pelvic floor strengthening exercises, they can be important. Doing doing more things like um, I would say bringing in foods like cherries that help with prolapses. Kale helps with connective tissue. Aloe, silica, cucumbers, MSM, nettle leaf. They can all be super helpful. So Sani says, for 3 months after my monthly period, one breast starts to hurt, and when my period comes next month, it stops hurting. I was healed with this symptom, but it's come back. So that just tells me that perhaps you could be a bit more viral at this time, Sani. So working on some more viral support, even increasing supplements by like a dropper or two, or just a capsule or more than what you've been doing could be helpful. Could be helpful. So, yeah, it should go away eventually. But check out when the breast starts to hurt and it becomes swollen. That's because you have more lymph fluid, and lymph fluid increases when you have a viral infection that's more active. So I would pay attention to that. All right, our next comment is from Katie. She says, "That's so beautiful, Muneeza, the connection and wisdom you share with your daughters. Agree about getting daddies involved. We have been preparing." Yes, it's so important. Melanie, nice to see you here. She says, my liver spots have started to fade away. Love your nails. You're beautiful. You guys are so sweet. Thank you so much. Um, Yota says, Katie, I healed my pre-diabetes by lowering fats. I went from 112 to 101. Yes, that's amazing that you did that. Um, so Dursis says, I have pain from my neck to my right arm to my hand. What supplements should I increase? I'm doing golden seal shock therapy. If you have pain support, if you go to my Amazon store, the pain support is clearly outlined there in the pain support section. So you can bring in nettle leaf, curcumin, magnesium glycinate, lemon balm, California poppy. Those are all super helpful, and they can help lower the pain levels as well as lower viral loads. Another question is about chronic bedwetting, working with toxic heavy metal removal, streptococcus, airway issues, and had a tongue tie release. He's super sensitive and been a slow process, and he gets so upset about it. Of course he would. He's 9 years old, and he knows that that's not normal. So I would say keep working on the toxic heavy metal piece. That's probably the biggest piece for him. And, you know, um, try doing the advanced heavy metal detox, or bring in the extractor smoothie too, but with less of that mustard, which can make it so potent for people. Um, Another question is from Seraphimorama, and she says, I cannot eat enough calories, pregnant with second and breastfeeding the elder at the same time. Still at the beginning, though in pregnancies are quite nauseous even if I try. That's tough. Seraphimorama. I'm gonna say that wrong. Seraphimorama. I think I said it. Yeah, that's tough. So I would say if you're nursing, I mean, you can do honey, you can do maple syrup, you can do as much as that you can get in, because you can get it in maybe without becoming more nauseous, but you can still get those calories in. Um, Potatoes can be really helpful for calming down nausea too. So steamed potatoes, try those. That can be really helpful. Um, our next question is from Jody. Jody says, can we add the new vitamin C powder of Vimergy to HMDS? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. All right. So that is our Q&A for today. Check out Revival, guys, right up here. You can click on the link. Check it out. You get a ton of bonuses. If you join, you get the program for life, and it's everything to do with women's health. And layered on that, when you're dealing with chronic illness, how do you navigate your journey? We're going to be talking about pelvic floor health as well. We're going to be talking about a lot of the issues that women face, and I'm excited because this program is one of a kind. Never done it before. It's got everything you need for your journey on women's health issues. If you have questions about it, please ask me. I'd love to have you join. Take care, everybody. Blessings to you. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend and Friday.